Hey everybody, Kevin here. It's time to color Twilight Sparkle and Spike, and we're going to start off with Twilight Sparkle. Our first colors for the body are going to be BV01, BV00, BV000, and BV Quad 0. So we're going to start, I'm going to start just up in the ear, and I'm going to put in all my shaded and darkest areas in my BV01. So anything where I want a little bit of shadow or shadow will fall is where I'm going to be putting this BV01 first. So down and around the legs, the hooves, any curves in the body, and down around the mane, and a little bit into that wing and the hind end, and into that back leg, as well as the belly area. And then we're going to move on to the BV00. And we're going to go over where we just colored, and now we're starting to extend further out in through the cheek and around the nose line and in the jaw, as well as the neck and down more towards the legs and into the hooves as well. So basically all we're doing here is laying down all four of our colors and slightly extending them over. And we're going to use our BV Quad 0 in the end to really get everything to blend together very nicely for us. So right now with the BV 000, we're kind of starting to fill it in more and leaving just a little bit of that white space. And then here we go in with that BV Quad 0, and this is where the blending starts to really happen. And I'm making sure that I'm making everything really, really nice and smooth, and I'm really getting that marker to saturate my paper. And if anybody doesn't know, I usually use the 100-pound cover copy cardstock, the hammer mill. So, and that's what I usually use. So I'm going back in now and just deepening up some of the shaded areas where I want a little bit more contrast to be, just to make sure that I don't lose any details. And then I'm going into that little unicorn horn with the BV01 and then the BV Quad 0. And again, just some more blending just to make sure everything looks smooth. So that's basically what you want to do. You really want to make sure that once you've got everything colored, that your colors have a very smooth transition so they look more uniform. Next up, we're going to be coloring the mane and tail, and we have a base color, which is going to be BV29, BV25, and BV23. We have the purple, BV08, BV17, BV31, and V08, and then we have the pink, RV19, RV17, and RV14. So we're going to start with that darkest color first, that BV29, and I'm putting it up towards the top of the mane and into the forelock area and into the tail. And then I'm coming up from the bottom as well, just in the pieces of where Twilight Sparkle has this like deep indigo blue color. And here I'm using the technique like we do in the hair. So in the end, we're going to get that highlight towards the middle. So next up, I'm going to be using that BV25. So the BV25, I'm going to bring up just from the bottom from where I put the BV29, and I'm not going to bring it down from the top. So I'm just using it in the bottom section. Then I'm going to use that BV23, and that's going to come down from the top, and then that's where it's going to meet in the middle for where we want that highlight. And again, I just want to make sure that everything's really nicely blended together there. And you'll see in the end, it just really has this really nice highlight effect into where this little My Little Pony's hair is. So next up is going to be our purple color. So we're using our BV08 to start, and again bringing some of that color up, but I'm bringing it all the way around the tail, and I'm shading the inside area of that one section, and same on the front there in the forelock. Next up is our BV17, and that is going to bring our BV08 out, and we're going to blend it in and move it over. So we're starting to fill that in. Then we're going to be using our BV1 and adding some of that light in there as well. And I also end up using the V09, which that I just wanted to give it that extra little pop of purple in there. And of course you could change up the colors, of course, and make it more purple. And you don't even need to color Twilight Sparkle in these colors. You can do whatever you want. So next up, we're going to go into our pink, which is our RV19. So that is next. So we're gonna put that into the forelock area, the mane and the tail, and then that will finish that up for us. And again, I'm just kind of making sure that the darker parts are filled in first, and then I'm moving on to the RV17. So most of these I've chosen 3 colors to do a blend with, just to make it easy and to give us enough dimension. Then we have our RV14, and this is going to add our final color to that blend to make sure everything looks amazing. Then up next is the mouth, which we're using RV14 and BV31. So super small area to color. And then our wing, BV00 and BV0, just to finish up where that is colored as well. And I just kind of went on the outside with a darker color, and the lighter color goes to the inside. For the eye, very simple, V17, V15, and V12. And we're just starting towards the bottom, the mid-tone, which is a V15 to the middle, and then we're finishing it off with V12 right from the top and bringing it down for a round for a blend. Now, Twilight Sparkle's cutie mark is going to be RV19 and RV17. So I just kind of put that RV19 out to the right-hand side and then blend it in with the RV17 from the left-hand side coming in. Then finally, we're going to get our highlights in there in the eye using a white Posca pen, and of course you can use a white gel pen as well. And there we go, we have our Twilight Sparkle colored, and up next is Spike. So the body of Spike is going to be V15, V12, V01, and V000. So all these nice violets are going to go in there, and of course we're starting in with our darkest color first. And I'm just kind of going around again, anywhere where you want shadow, but I'm not going up right to the line. I am leaving some space for a little bit of that lighter color to sit in next. So next up, we're using our V12, and again, filling it in very slowly. Now this is a very small stamp. This is a small image, so you really want to make sure that you're using just the very tip of your brush, using light pressure, just to make sure you can squeeze all those colors in there. So next up is our V01. And our V01 is just going to start to get everything to, again, blend more together. And we're going to start to come around the top of the head and work the color in towards the center of the face and a little bit around the eye. So here you can see we've come down through the bridge of the forehead in closer to the snout. And then finally our V000 is going to finish this off, and we're going to use that color in our white areas to blend out. And again, soften all our lines that we put in previously. And once you do some blending, you can always go back in with your darker markers, either your mid-tone or your darkest, depending on what you want to do, just to make sure you haven't lost any detail if you overblend. Next up is our belly, and that's going to be YG03, YG11, and G20. This is the belly and the inner part of the ear, those ears there, those little flaps. And again, I'm just using this darker color right to the bottom and in the midsection, and then kind of going around the outside of the little ear things there. And then we add our YG11, super simple, and then we blend it all together with our G20. So again, this is just a fast tutorial for you, and I've got some other ones that are normal speed if you like those better. So next up is the head, tail, and spikes, which are G07, YG17, YG13, and YG11. So we're going to start in, and again, super small space, only put in what you can fit. So our G07 went in first, and then our YG17 to blend around. And you can see I've left a little bit of that white outline towards the top where I have that stamp line. And then now I'm starting to fill it in a little bit more with my YG13. And then finally I go in with that YG11 or YG11, again, to make sure everything is nice and blended. And you can see here, I'm just really trying to get everything to look nice and soft. For the eyes, which are up next, G09, G05, and YG06. And I'm starting in the midsection of the eye through the pupil, and then I'm expanding it with the color on either side. So first goes in that G05 to the right hand side, and then our YG06 on the left hand side of that eye, and then a little bit of blending through both. And then finally, again, we're at our highlights with your white Posca pen or gel pen, and I'm just going to add those highlights into the eye where I've colored over and add a little bit of extra there with a little bit of line just to give a unique eye highlight. So thank you very much for joining me for this video, and I hope to see you again next time. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe.